Hey, it's Booray from Tampa, Florida, and today we're going to talk about bokeh. Before we get started, don't forget to check out my podcast. It's called Photobomb. It's available anywhere that podcasts are found. I have a group on Facebook. It's called Pro Photo Talk with Booray Perry. Great community there. And also be sure and follow me on Instagram. I have a fun Instagram channel. I post pictures, but I also post a lot of fun stuff as well. Hey, down in the comments, or not in the comments, in the description, you will find links to all of my gear, both my professional gear and my travel gear. And if you click on a link and you buy something you like, I make a couple of dollars. It helps me to keep this channel alive. Also, be sure and throw me a like and a subscription. Man, that's a lot of stuff to talk about before you actually get to the meat of the video, isn't it? All right. Today we're going to talk about bokeh. This is one of those things where you're like, well, this is going to be a short video, right? Bokeh, it's the blurry part of your image, right? And then you go down the rabbit hole of actually researching bokeh, and suddenly you discover that there's 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 things that you might want to talk about, and you kind of have to pick which one is the one you want to talk about, because I don't want to overload you on the bokeh. So let's first start with, how do you pronounce it? I pronounce it bokeh. Accent on both syllables. Bokeh, bokeh, bokeh. It is not bouquet. I know that that's wrong. I've kind of heard people say bokeh, accent on the first syllable, and Japanese speakers will sometimes say bokeh, bokeh, like that. I feel like if I say bokeh, that it's like when I'm pronouncing a person from Mexico's name, and I go, Fernando Venezuela, or something along those lines, where it's like, I'm not Mexican, so I shouldn't pronounce it that way. I should try and Americanize it a little bit. So I just take it as straight bokeh, bokeh. And if I keep saying it, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it anymore. That thing is going to happen. That happens in your brain. So that's how I pronounce it. It is a Japanese word, and it means, haze, or blur. That's where it comes from. So it is produced in the out of focus areas of your image, and you see it throughout all the out of focus areas of your image, but it is most prevalent when there's a light source, a specular highlight, parts that are really bright next to parts that aren't so bright, and it's probably the most prevalent when you actually have little bitty lights in your background. I have a picture in front of a Christmas tree that I took of a bride, and it's just nothing but, bokeh. See, now I can't pronounce it. Bokeh lights. Am I saying it right? See, now I've done it. I've done that thing where I've overloaded my brain, and now I can't. Like, if you say the word hamburger 20 times, you won't be able to say hamburger right anymore. So that's happened. So just deal with it. So anyway, these lights will then blur, and they will blur differently based on the lens that you are using. Now, I want to point out one thing particular about the lens that you're using and how the blur is going to look. Sometimes you get a blur that's round, and sometimes you will get a blur that's like octagonal or pentagonal or whatever, that's got little sides to it. And the difference in those two blurs has to do with your aperture. If your aperture is wide open, then the leaves that make up the hole in your camera, they're completely retracted. And so it's a round lens, and that will give you a round blur. But a lot of times, if it's closed just a little bit, like if you have an f2.8 lens, but you're shooting at, 4, if it's closed just a little bit, that aperture sometimes will be, it'll have sides to it. It'll be octagonal or whatever. And those sides will show up on your picture. And so your bokeh will have sides to it. You get what I'm saying, right? I can't pronounce it, but you get what I'm saying. There's another thing, too, that changes the way that your bokeh looks, and it is the quality of the glass in your lens, because you will get aberrations in your glass. The way that these lenses move together to take your light that comes into your camera and to focus it down to one point. If it's really good glass and it does that really well, then you will have round circles of bokeh that are very uniform. Right? And if it doesn't do it well, a lot of times you'll have blur around the edges or other effects that you can have, in your bokeh. So a lot of times the quality of the glass has to do with the quality of the bokeh, which brings us to the final thing, which is what's good bokeh and what's bad bokeh. And the truth is, it's all subjective. Generally speaking, most people say that a good bokeh is good, solid, perfectly round circles. That's a good bokeh. But me personally, I decided a long time ago that I just really don't care that much. I know what it is. I know how it works. I know what it looks like. It's great. But I'm never going to have a client who is going to go, you know what, we were going to hire Booray Perry, but we didn't like the bokeh on his images. We're going to go with this person over here who has a better one. That's just not going to happen. Now, that's not to say that it isn't something that you can absolutely obsess over. Because for some people, it's a very big deal. For some, there are so many parts of photography that this person is just fanatical about it, and I don't care about it. And there's things that I'm fanatical about, and they don't care about. And that's the beauty of photography, is that you get to decide what your path is, and you get to decide what's important to you and what you're trying to achieve. So if you go down the bokeh rabbit hole, and trying to searching for the lens that's going to give you the perfect bokeh for the portraits that you want to take, that's great. Fantastic. Knock that out. Have a good time, and you're going to enjoy yourself. And I always say this, that at our age, my age, that anytime you find anything you can be excited about, you should be excited that you're excited. Because we just don't get to have that much to be excited about anymore. We're not 12 anymore. We can't get excited about the new G.I. Joe movie. So, anytime you can find something to sink your teeth into, go with it and have a good time. And if it happens to be bokeh, then okay, great. Knock yourself out. But I personally don't really care. You will hear me say sometimes on my channel when I'm reviewing a lens, I'll say, oh, it's got a beautiful bokeh. I notice it. I notice it when it's there, but I'm never going to not buy a lens because I'm not happy with it. All right, so that's bokeh. Say it with me. Bokeh. That's what it means. I'm not going to be here next week, so I'm going to be in New York. I'm teaching a class at B&H Electronics. So if you're in the New York area, come to B&H Electronics on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll be speaking on Wednesday at, I think, 2 p.m., 1 p.m. It might be 1 p.m. You can find it online. Go to B&H Electronics photo website, and you'll find it. It's called the Depth of Field Conference, and it's 2 days. It's me and a bunch of other speakers, vendors, and there's going to be live shooting and models. It is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope to see you there. But because of that, you won't be seeing any videos next week from me. But as soon as I get back, I'll get some more videos up for you, and we will continue this series as I explain everything about photography. Thanks for watching.